Heyo everybody, Haku here with my predictions, episode by episode, of what I think is going to be going down in The Walking Dead Season 7. The first half of the season, I think we have a better idea because of the trailers and stuff. Second half of the season, that's going to be a bit of a stretch to predict. But I'm pretty certain I did this with Fear and with The Walking Dead last season, the second half of the last season. So I'm going to go through this episode by episode and say just general thoughts on what I think might happen, to tell you guys the general direction I think the story is going to go, and sort of the kind of thing that I'm expecting to see here in this story. So episode 1, of course, I think is going to focus on the death scene for essentially the entire episode. I think it's going to be on the death scene and the aftermath from it, with them all there talking to Negan and Rick in the RV and stuff. I think it's going to be on that all episode, but if not, it's going to be on it just about all episode. Episode 2, I think it's going to be the aftermath of that for our survivors. I think we may probably go to the hilltop and have some of the aftermath there, and I think we're going to get to first see Carol and Morgan going into the kingdom. Episode 3, I think, is mostly going to be kingdom stuff, and I think Morgan's going to go on a run with the people at the kingdom. Episode 4, I always say, you guys know, I always say episode 4 is totally going to be the bottle episode, and I think so again this season. Episode 4, I feel, is going to be a bottle episode for Tara, about her and Heath, and I think Heath will die, actually. And for what I think will happen with Tara, either she will survive and return to Alexandria, or she will be captured by the Saviors. One of those two things. Don't know why I'm thinking captured by the Saviors, but just a part of me is thinking that, since we didn't see her at Alexandria in the trailer ending. Episode 5, I'm thinking that'll be, I think Rick's going to go to the kingdom, perhaps with Jesus probably, and they're going to maybe start to plan to turn on Negan, and I think that Dwight may or may not be there, but Rick's not going to be quite willing to turn against Negan yet. He doesn't quite trust Ezekiel yet. He doesn't trust Dwight, of course, yet, if Dwight is even there. Then episode 6, I think it's going to be a lot of Jesus and Dwight. I think Jesus is going to have a cat and mouse thing where he's sort of following Dwight around. We see Dwight at that underpass or overpass or whatever, and he's finding the dead bodies. I think that Jesus is going to follow him around and spy on him and stuff. I think they'll run into other saviors and stuff, and maybe even run into the kingdom people. So I think there's going to be some stuff going down with Jesus and Dwight in episode 6. And the other part of episode 6 and episode 7, I'm not sure which is going to come first. There will probably be a lot of stuff at the sanctuary, and I have no idea where that'll be in the season. I couldn't find a place where I would logically put it in, but I think that maybe, and I think that my thoughts on this, I think I'm going through the season far too fast, but I don't know. There are some things that I just think, I don't know, this is my thoughts on scheduling, but I think that we're going to have some sanctuary heavy stuff, and before Negan gets to Alexandria, but then I think we're going to have Negan going to collect their first payment in episode 6 towards the end, or episode 7. And Negan's going to go, and it'll be a week after whatever, he's going to collect, or that is if we don't do a time skip. If we do a time skip, Negan's going to come there to collect, and Rick is going to try to turn on him, and I think Rick will try to turn on him in episode 8. I think that when Negan gets there, and Rick will still be gone, coming back from the kingdom or whatever, Negan will be with Olivia like we saw in the trailer. Spencer will say that they should have made a deal with him when they had the chance there. And I think we'll have the death of a mid-range character. Not a huge main character, but not a completely small one. I'm not sure who it'll be. I think most people are assuming Spencer, but I think they could throw that death off on Tobin or somebody potentially. So yeah, they could give Tobin that death. And I think somebody will die around episode 6 or 7, just like I thought that Heath would die in episode 4. So we're getting 2 deaths in the early season by my predictions, having not even seen the first episode. So episode 8, I think Rick's going to try to turn on Negan, but shit's going to go south. He's going to be in over his head and pretty much fail at it. Episode 9, I feel like when we get back from the mid-season break, Jesus will come in for the save, and the situation will be somewhat disarmed. Not sure if both sides will get away unscathed, but I think that the Saviors will retreat from Alexandria. Alexandria will lick their wounds, and it is just going to be that sort of thing. Episode 10 and 11, I think, is going to be arguments overturning on Negan and more character stuff, the relationships between the Saviors and the other places, the other colonies or whatever, sort of the relationships are kind of falling apart, things like that, and making it feel like, oh, we could be heading into a war or something. I think 10 or 11 is going to be stuff breaking down and more slow character stuff than big events. Episodes 12 and 13, I think that Rick is going to go back to the kingdom so that he can plan a coup with Ezekiel, Jesus, and Dwight. And I think that they're going to start forming up people. Rick's going to travel back to Alexandria. I think we're going to have some stuff along those lines, and I know that's very general, but like I said, it's hard to predict stuff that's going to be happening like months and months from now without having seen a single episode. But I think that could be what happens there. Episode 14, I think, is going to be focused around Jesus collecting men from the hilltop, but he's going to have to deal with some resistance, perhaps from Gregory, perhaps from other members of the hilltop. But I think 14 will be a hilltop-centric episode. Maybe that'll be when maybe Jesus will team up with some of the people that are at the hilltop and sort of overthrow Gregory in a way. I have no idea, but I feel like it's going to be Hilltop episode 14. Now, episodes 15 and 16, I think we're going to have our first attack on the sanctuary. I think all of our people are going to meet up and go, and we're going to have the army outside of the gates and perhaps even attack sanctuary. And there are two ways this could end. If the season goes slower than I had expected, then I'm thinking maybe the season will end with the army outside the gates and Negan seeing the army. Like, one season ends with Negan about to beat somebody to death, the next season ends with an army outside of Negan's gates. That could be an interesting way to end it. Or if the season is going a bit faster, I think we could end after the first attack on the sanctuary. We could end with a character sacrificing themselves. My bet's on Tara. I think a lot of people have bets on Tara for that death, but I think somebody could sacrifice themselves, and that could also be a very interesting end for the season. So either way, this was a quick as hell video. Was not expecting it to be this quick, but that's a rundown of just point by point how I think this season will go in general. And of course, I could be completely wrong, but the fun of predictions is to make them, you know? So yeah, those are my predictions for the seasons, for this season, season 7, and I hope you enjoyed it. So like if you did like this video, comment down there, tell me what you thought of these predictions. What are your predictions for how this season will go, and what do you expect to see in it? Subscribe for more The Walking Dead, Tower of God, One Piece, and a bunch more. And follow on Twitter if you want as well. I'll try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. And that's it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.